Hi everyone, in this video we will discuss few questions from diabetes mellitus and blood glucose regulation. So the first question is, what is the normal blood level of glucose? It's a one mark question. And the second question is, what are the diagnostic criteria for diabetes mellitus? It's a 2 mark question. So this chart is given in your textbook. So the normal fasting blood sugar level in a healthy individual is less than 110 milligram per deciliter, and 2-hour postprandial blood sugar level is less than 140 milligram per deciliter. And this is the normal level of blood glucose. And to diagnose diabetes mellitus, this FBS should be more than 126 milligram per deciliter, or PPBS should be more than 200 milligram per deciliter. That is the diagnostic criteria for diabetes mellitus. And blood sugar level between the normal level and the diabetic level, that is considered as IGT, that is impaired glucose tolerance. So for IGT, the fasting blood sugar level should be in between 110 to 126 milligram per deciliter, or PPBS should be in between 140 to 199 milligram per deciliter. And you should know what is the importance of this IGT. So an individual with IGT, they are more prone to develop diabetes mellitus in the future life. So this is the diagnostic criteria for diabetes mellitus. Either FBS should be more than 126 milligram per deciliter, or 2-hour postprandial blood sugar level should be more than 200 milligram per deciliter. And the next question is, what is HbA1c? And mention is clinical importance. HbA1c means glycated hemoglobin. So this reaction is known as glycation reaction. So in glycation reaction, hemoglobin is the protein part. This hemoglobin binds with glucose and produces glycated hemoglobin. And it is a non-enzymatic reaction. So glycation is a non-enzymatic reaction. And what is the importance of this HbA1c? This HbA1c estimation give an idea regarding the average blood glucose level for the last 120 days. 120 days means it is the average lifespan of RBC. And you should know what is the normal level of HbA1c level in healthy individual, and what should be the HbA1c level in diabetic patient. So in a normal healthy individual, this HbA1c level should be less than 5.5 percentage, and in patient with diabetes mellitus, it should be more than 6.5 percentage, and in IGT it should be in between 5.6 to 6.5 percentage. That is the level of HbA1c in normal individual and in patient with diabetes mellitus. And you should know what is the clinical significance of this HbA1c estimation. So for HbA1c, the fasting sample is not required, so we can conduct this test at any time. That is one of the significance of this HbA1c estimation. And HbA1c estimation is not affected by any acute factors. Acute factors means any acute traumatic condition, like any acute injury, any trauma, or any stressful condition. Our body produces certain hormones like steroid hormone, epinephrine, norepinephrine. So all these hormones having hyperglycemic effect, so that can produce a high blood glucose level. But in case of HbA1c estimation, it is not affected by these types of acute factors. And HbA1c estimation gives an idea regarding the average blood glucose level for the last 120 days. And HbA1c is a better index for predicting the chronic complications of diabetes mellitus, like diabetic retinopathy, nephropathy, and neuropathy. And this HbA1c estimation is not affected by any recent change in food intake. So these are the clinical significance of HbA1c. So HbA1c is an important exam question. So you should know what is HbA1c and what are the levels of HbA1c in normal individual and in diabetic patient, and what are the clinical significance of HbA1c estimation. And the next question is monitoring of diabetes mellitus, the 3-mark question. So how will you monitor a patient with diabetes mellitus? So here the patient is already diagnosed to have diabetes mellitus. So what are the things to be done in a patient with diabetes mellitus? So all of you know diabetes mellitus is a metabolic disease. So these patients can produce chronic complications like microvascular complication or macrovascular complication. So we have to evaluate these diabetes patients to know whether this patient is having these types of complication. So we have to estimate this blood sugar once in 3 months. and we have to evaluate lipid profile. That should be done once in 6 months. So in lipid profile, we have to estimate total cholesterol level, triacylglycerol, LDL cholesterol and HDL cholesterol, and we have to evaluate the kidney function status. So renal function test should be done once in 6 months. Here we have to estimate blood urea and serum creatinine. And microalbuminuria should be done yearly. This is done to assess the development of diabetic nephropathy. So microalbuminuria is a predictor of diabetic nephropathy in a patient with diabetes mellitus. And we have to do HbA1c estimation, and this HbA1c estimation gives an idea regarding this average blood glucose level for the last 120 days. So these are the things should be done in a patient with diabetes mellitus, that is the monitoring of a diabetes patient. And the next question is, what is the renal threshold for glucose? It's a 1 mark question. So renal threshold for glucose is 180 milligram per deciliter. And the important thing is renal threshold is lowered physiologically in pregnancy. That's why in a pregnant lady, the urine is positive for Benedictus. And the next one is regulation of blood glucose level. It's a 5 mark question. Regulation of blood glucose level. So in this question, first of all, you should write what is the normal blood glucose level in a healthy individual. So in a normal healthy individual, the FPA should be in between 70 to 110 milligram per deciliter, and 2-hour postprandial blood sugar should be less than 140 milligram per deciliter. That is the normal plasma glucose level in a healthy individual. Then you should write what are the sources of blood glucose level. The first source is the absorption from the food items. So absorption from the gastrointestinal tract, that is the primary source for blood glucose. The second one is glycogenolysis, and the third thing is gluconeogenesis. So these are the source for blood glucose. Then you should write how this glucose is utilized by our body. So our body tissues uses this glucose for their energy purpose. So glucose is the major substrate for glycolysis and TCA cycle. And hepatic glycogenesis also uses glucose, and glycogenesis in muscle and in other tissues, and also lipogenesis also uses this glucose as the substrate. Then you should write how this blood glucose level is regulated during postprandial state and in fasting state. So postprandial blood glucose regulation. So following a meal, the glucose will be absorbed from the digestive system. So gradually our blood glucose level increases. So that will stimulate the beta cells of the pancreas. So activated beta cell produce insulin, and this insulin tries to reduce the blood glucose level. So what are the mechanisms by which this insulin reduces the blood glucose level? So you should write the mechanism also. So insulin promote the peripheral tissue utilization of glucose. So insulin promote the uptake of glucose by the peripheral tissues, and insulin promote the oxidation of glucose for energy purpose, and insulin promote lipogenesis. And insulin also decreases hepatic glycogenolysis. Insulin promote hepatic glycogenesis and decrease gluconeogenesis. So these are the mechanisms by which insulin tries to decrease the blood glucose level. Then the next subheading should be regulation in fasting state. So first 12 hours during the fasting state, the blood glucose level is maintained by glycogenolysis. After that, this blood glucose level is maintained by gluconeogenesis. So these are the mechanism, that is glycogenolysis and gluconeogenesis, which maintain blood glucose level during fasting state. And just draw this picture. So this picture shows low blood glucose level. So this low blood glucose level stimulate alpha cells of the pancreas which secrete glucagon, and this glucagon tries to increase blood glucose level by promoting glycogenolysis in liver. Whenever there is a high blood glucose level, that will activate or stimulate the beta cells of the pancreas which secrete insulin, and this insulin tries to decrease blood glucose level by promoting peripheral tissue uptake of glucose. And just write the role of hormones on blood glucose level. So the main thing is all hormone produces hyperglycemia except insulin. So insulin is the only one hormone which produces hypoglycemia. All other hormones like thyroid hormone, steroid hormone, epinephrine, norepinephrine, growth hormone, glucagon, all these hormone produces hyperglycemia. So all hormone produces hyperglycemia except insulin. Insulin produces hypoglycemia. So that's all regarding blood glucose regulation and diabetes mellitus. Okay, thank you.